let's go ahead and dive right on into the news for Super Wild Card Weekend. Playoffs are here, and there's some stuff to talk about. Now, go back to our last episode if you want to talk about teams that are not going to be a part of the playoffs, because outside of one little segment here, or it's actually probably going to be a pretty big segment, we're no longer talking about teams that are not in the playoffs for the most part. So with the injury report, I'm only reporting on teams that are still alive in the playoffs playing football.
Nope.
It's relatively short, actually. Starts off with Kansas City wide receiver Tyreek Hill. Injured his heel in pregame. Did not play very well at all in this game against Denver. But not to say that he's not going to be ready. It's just it's up in the air. We have no idea what his health situation is going to be until we see him play on, I believe, Sunday. Yeah, Sunday Night Football. Now, Pittsburgh running back Nigel Harris has an elbow injury. That's going to be massive. But also, Pittsburgh wide receiver Deontay Johnson has a actually substantial rib injury. He might not be able to play in this Kansas City game, and I think that is going to be the bigger of the two, because now really all you have to do is guard Chase Claypool.
I did not hear that at any point this week. Okay,
so
that's interesting.
That's going to be a massive one if he can't trot out there to play.
I'm sorry, no Deontay Johnson. They have no chance.
Zero chance.
No.
It's like, yes, Kansas City doesn't have DBs, but they've got enough to just throw at Chase Claypool to make sure he doesn't do anything.
Exactly. I'm sorry, James Washington. You are very talented, but you're not that guy.
You're nicer than me. I would not have used that word for James Washington.
I'm just saying he's a decent. Don't get me wrong. He's a decent receiver, but dude, I'm sorry. You're not gonna just step in and all of a sudden be the savior number 2 on the team, and all of a sudden Kansas City, suspect defense or not, just can't stop this.
Yeah.
Now I said all of that. Let's see how this plays out.
Having a massive game.
Green
Bay wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling did injure his back, but he's got a whole nother week of rest, so he should be fine. Tampa Bay wide receiver Cyril Grayson has a hamstring injury. That is going to be massive because they
Tampa Bay wide receiver who?
Cyril Grayson. Another.
So is he number 4 being ahead of Scotty Miller, or is he number 6 being behind Scotty Miller and T. Johnson? I can't even say the guy's name. I don't even know his first name. It's just T.
I don't know where he is,
say
but with him, not Cyril Johnson.
So real?
No, Cyril. Cyril. Cyril.
Cyril?
Cyril.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Wow.
But I think it is significant because they don't have receivers. It's Mike Evans and Scotty Miller and who else? T. Johnson. Like
exactly.
So him going down too, it's just like they're getting really thin. On top of the fact that they just lost for the rest of the season now. Tampa Bay loses cornerback Richard Sherman. His Achilles injury is now devolved worse than it was.
Was this the time he went back out on was that like a Sunday night game? And
he came in for like 3 plays.
And he never came back.
Never came back.
And this is the same.
He's been dealing with it all season long.
That had to be like 7 weeks ago.
Yeah,
roughly,
maybe longer.
I'm just guessing, throwing a number.
But now they've put him on IR, and if you go on IR the second time, season's over. You're done. So they can't even attempt to bring him back. But they did say that he is going to be on the sidelines. He's basically going to be de facto DB coach for Tampa for the rest of the season.
Whatever, Richard Sherman.
So that's that. And then I think probably the most significant injury of all is going to happen with the Las Vegas Raiders. They lose defensive tackle Darius Philon, who had himself an insane day before he went down with the knee injury. I think he ended up. They have not said specifically what it is, but I think everybody's fears it's an ACL tear. Mm-hmm. But he goes down, and that is a big blow to their defensive line. Defensive tackle Darius Philon, he was having himself a day against the Chargers. I mean, he was blowing everything up in the first half of the Chargers, and he is now down, done. There's no coming back for him right now. Like it's over. So I think that one's going to be very significant with them going up against a actually pretty formidable Cincinnati defense. That's going to be a big blow to them.
Yeah. They're gonna need everything they you know what? It's just playoff football. You look, it's like a last man standing. You're gonna need as many many of your starters and many of your key significant guys, your gadget guys, your utility dudes. You need all these people. It's all hands on deck. It's the playoffs, and basically, look, in a couple weeks, we're gonna blink, and there's gonna be a handful of teams just standing around that's left, and that's it. So
I think that's kind of where we are now. I know.
That's what I'm saying. Playoffs goes very fast, but that's what I'm saying. It's just gonna be
14.
chopping block,
Yeah.
chop. It gets real Game of Thrones in the playoffs. So it's a lot of deaths about to currently start happening. A lot of surprise deaths.
Yeah.
So just you all been here every year. Act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. We're here.
One of the teams that are a favorite are gonna go down this week, and it's hard to pick which one it's gonna be.
I was looking at the exact same thing. I'm like, I can't sit here and say all 6 or all 12 home teams are gonna win because that's not gonna happen. I'm sitting there like, now which one of you jokers?
Exact same thing.
Which one of you jokers is gonna sit there and choke it up? And I'm sitting there like, now I got to figure out sadistically which one I need to go. Oh God,
I don't like it.
I don't either. And I'm like, do I just play the odds? And like, well, most of them will. Moving on.
Yeah.
I understand your sentiment. 1,000.
God. All right, let's talk some headlines. I want to get these kind of sad ones out of the way because I want to be excited for playoff football. So let's hit it really quick.
On.
First off, another just tragic story for another player. Seattle quarterback Geno Smith is now arrested for suspicion of a DUI. I say suspicion of a DUI because that's what the story said. But man, let me just give the facts.
Oh, wait.
He got pulled over because dude's driving 96 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour zone. The police report states that there was a strong odor of intoxication. That's literally verbatim what was said in the police statement, which I don't know what an odor of intoxication is. I think you're smelling alcohol. You can just say that. But regardless, yeah. No, odor of intoxication. I know I can't speak. Geno also ended up refusing the field breathalyzer test. So that's cause for concern there. And so on the spot, when you refuse a breathalyzer test under suspicion of a DUI, you are arrested and immediately taken to a local hospital. And that's exactly what they did to do a blood draw. And he had to be restrained for this blood draw. They had a Seattle rep was there, a Seahawks rep was there during the whole procedure, and he really had to multiple times calm Geno down, say, we're gonna take care of you. This has to happen. You decided, you said no to the breathalyzer. This is the next step. And so that was the whole ordeal. But I guess good news from this. I mean, this all is happening early Monday morning, 2 a.m. after they got back from the game, and now he was released later Monday, early afternoon, 1 or 2 o'clock, on $1,000 bond, which kind of bodes well for him, I guess, because I don't know who gives that cheap of a bond for a DUI charge. So we'll see. There's no other news that has come out since Monday. Right. If he passed the test or if he horrifically failed.
Did this guy realize? Did he get any report? I mean, he had to get some of the reports like we did that Russell Wilson is possibly leaving. Meaning you could possibly be starting in this damn franchise finally, since you're
built a rapport with. I mean, he is a free agent, but also you've built a rapport with just the entire league now, putting on tape actually good film. The first time we've ever said decent film of Geno Smith. I mean, it's no
even
New York
to say
Jets.
His name and have a positive spin in that same statement, which is what we're discussing right now, and it isn't, and that's my point. I was like, did this guy get the memo? Look,
or have you not seen the reports of everything that's happening in Vegas this year? Dude, come on.
Maybe he's trying to get over to Vegas. Who knows? I don't know. Jeez. Whatever the case, yes, tragic story. Yet another tragic story involving Geno Smith.
Yeah. So that's that. This one isn't really tragic. It's just weird, and I think
weird.
It is. There's a Denver County judge that ended up clearing the way. Now Denver can actually sell the franchise. Basically what happened here is back in the 80s, Edgar Kaiser was the owner of the Denver Broncos. I wasn't even a thought at the point. 1984 is when it was sold to Pat Bolin. But Kaiser's heirs have filed for I think right of first refusal on the sale back in 1984. And basically what they're trying to say is, since Pat Bolin died in 2019, right of first refusal should revert team ownership back to to Edgar Kaiser's heirs. And so they're trying to get ownership of the team so that they can, I guess, move forward with that. But Denver County judge has kind of nixed it, and basically now it allows, since Pat Bolin has passed, whoever now has ownership, or whatever entity has ownership of the Denver Broncos, now it could be sold. And this opens up a lot of possibilities for the team moving forward, just culture-wise, because it all starts from the top down. And if it gets sold to somebody who's attractive for a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson or a culture that Aaron Rodgers might want to come into, this could start to kind of turn the tide for a team that hasn't seen the playoffs since Peyton Manning.
Wow.
So that is another big story. Another headline, we got some guys returning for some playoff action now.
Okay.
One caught me way off guard. Did not see this. Eric Weddle unretires to return back to the LA Rams safety. So he's going to be playing, or we'll see if he's playing playoff football, but he is going to be on the roster at least.
Right.
So going to be interesting to see what condition he's in, because I mean, the dude was 38 when he retired. So what are you now as a safety? Let's see if his legs are still under him.
I don't think it. Not bad considering with all the injuries and COVID and everything. I mean, we know why he's retiring. Like, he's trying to get the little cheap ring. But I digress. But COVID and the injury bug that has been hitting the NFL super hard for the last couple of years, it legitimizes it. You bringing a veteran back to the team, so
already knows the system. He was there with this system already in place. So
it's a dual threat issue going on here, but it makes sense.
Yeah. And then also again, Zadarius Smith, he might be available as well. He looks like his timetable got sped up, especially now that they have another week off. Zadarius Smith could possibly be returning for Green Bay. So that's going to be big for their defense. They're still missing their two corners still, I believe, Kevin King and Jair Alexander.
Either one of them coming back, or are they done for the year?
I think they both have the possibility of coming back, but it's like just up in the air on how fast they can come back and when they can play without re-injuring and kind of pain management wise. So those are going to be the questions that need to be answered for them to come back.
Right.
Good news for the NFL as a whole and ESPN specifically. So the NFL reported today, earlier, that for them specifically, the NFL as a whole, the whole entity, averaged over the 272 regular season games, they averaged 17.1 million viewers for each game, both TV and digital. So like streaming services that also played football games are also included in those ratings. But ESPN specifically, after changing their broadcast package, their ratings have gone up 10% this season. So it looks like everybody's kind of back on the NFL track, because there was a couple of years there, especially with the political spectrum and the way things were going, dividing the country. It looks like the NFL got hit hard, and they kept going down in ratings back-to-back years, and now they're finally back in the positive direction. So happy to see that, at least. And then last thing that I have is,
want to know why? Cowboys back on top.
Don't even start with me.
I quit.
All right. Last one, Adrian Peterson. This man comes out. Seattle's eliminated. They're done. He comes out early. It was yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
And is like, hey, anybody, I'm a free agent. Anybody willing to sign me, I will play. I am playing football again. I will continue to play football. Is he not like 48? Like, this dude.
You know what would be poetic justice? I got poetic justice. I think Pittsburgh should give him a call.
No.
No, hear me out. Hear me out.
No, I think Pittsburgh would be like the number 2. Chicago, round it out. Round it out. Go through the whole NFC North.
No, you gotta go. No, he has to go. First of all, the callous is he has to bum off one of these playoff teams. He's gonna try to. He has to try to swipe a ring some kind of way.
Well, he cannot sign this year. It would have to be after.
I thought it was since he's free, he could just go anybody wants to pick him up, they can pick him up.
No, so if you're on the roster if you're on the roster in 2018, in week 18, after that you cannot sign to any other team. That's why I forget who it is. There's a free agent. Oh, Antonio Brown. There was a thought that if somebody wanted to, they could have signed him in week 18. So that he could be able to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother ordeal. But that's just the thought. Like
disgusting stat
if
from
you're
week 17, by the way. From week 17, not week 18. Moving on.
We talked about it last week. But if you're on the roster in week 18, you will not be able to re-sign until after the season is completely closed. You have to wait until the new league year. That is going to be
okay. Back to what you were saying about Mr. Peterson.
But he's just saying next year I am playing football.
Oh, really?
Like he doesn't say I am playing football. He says that he wants to continue. He does not want to leave the game.
Okay, got a new team then. I think it would now. New poetic justice. Jacksonville.
Oh, no.
No, you're missing the point. You don't get to play on a contender any further in your career. You've exhausted all of that.
It's funny you say that because when he said it, the first thing that came to my mind, guess who?
I have no clue.
Tampa Bay.
No, stop.
Replace Rojo. Just
no.
Baffled. Just absolutely baffled.
Mr. Arians need his whipping post. He needs that little punch.
He is not bringing back Rojo. He is not going to go out of his way.
Why have it? Okay, look, the NFL don't have guaranteed contracts. Why did they not go out of their way to just get rid of them anyway? Why are they keeping them on? For some reason, they just thought, out of all the disrespect, I'm going to honor you in your contract. And I'm just not going to mess with you when your contract's in, we're done.
We've seen the hypocrisy with Bruce Arians.
Let's move on. Yeah. Because, it took me a while to even catch that on to the Bruce Arians. The,
AB?
No. Jacksonville's ex-coach.
Oh, Urban Meyer.
God, these names. Yeah, it took me a minute to catch on to So
I was tired of saying that from day one. I was like, this is going to be a train wreck.
It's just like, what the hell are we looking at here? This is not really happening, and it's happening. And the fact that Rojo has not stepped up and choked his coach out by now is the thing that's getting me more than anything. That's why I'm like, this can't be as serious as it seems. This dude's too malmanaged for this. Now I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't care, because whatever the hell's going on in Florida is obviously something that don't go on anywhere else in this country. So I'm good. With that being said, let's move forward.
All right. Before we get to Black Monday and the late firings that happened on Tuesday, I want to quickly talk about some teams. There are 18 teams that just got knocked out of the playoff race, or that have been knocked out and won't be moving any forward, playing any more games. And I think 14 of those 18 teams have questions at QB. I just want to go down the list.
Okay.
It starts with Russell Wilson, obviously. Him in Seattle. Was that his last one? I don't think he wants to stick around for a rebuild at this point of his career, so that's a massive question. Detroit. What are you guys doing about Jared Goff? Are we looking to upgrade? Are we just happy that we have somebody who wants to play for us, or what's the case there? Houston. You got two questions at quarterback. It starts with Deshaun Watson, which has been a question for a whole year now. And Davis Mills. I mean, Davis Mills hasn't looked bad by any means. And are we looking to build around him, or are we looking to find another upgrade?
I would say don't go for the fool's goal. Like, take what you got from him this year. And look, if you got a building plan, look, if he's only the fallback, let him fall back on him. Don't just, this is our number one option.
I need to find the the FanDuel odds for this, but I'm saying it right now. I think anybody who has any disposable income, whatever the odds are, Tua playing in Houston in 2022, I think is a massive one to try to go hit.
It could work.
Because I think it's almost a lock that Deshaun Watson is playing in Miami next year. I don't see anybody else taking that Miami job. I feel like Miami is going to go all in to go get Deshaun Watson, and if they can't get him, they're going to stick with Tua.
Wow.
But if that hits, if Deshaun Watson is playing in 2022, he will be playing for the Miami Dolphins, and then that just leaves like, okay, then where does Tua go? I think it's just a straight up.
That is the only team
in my opinion, that I could see Deshaun Watson playing for in 2022. Because I feel like at this point, Miami's tried before the second that he was on their list, they were like, okay, yep, we're gonna try. Didn't work out. They said that they were done trying to talk about it. We're going all in with Tua, and then as the season was starting, training camp, we hear rumblings of them trying to go get Deshaun Watson again, and then trade deadline's coming up, and that is like literally the only story outside of Odell Beckham, trade deadline day, and it's just like, okay, well, if there's any news coming across, it's going to be one of those two.
Okay.
And so it's just been a topic of conversation week in, week out, and now, yeah, we had a little bit of dead period because obviously nobody can be traded after the deadline, so. Mm-hmm. The whole story is going to come back up the second that these allegations are cleared up and resolved, as much as 22 sexual assault allegations can be resolved. Mm-hmm. The second that that's done, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion. They've already talked multiple times. They have a structure. We were assuming that they basically had a deal done. They just needed to figure out what was happening with those allegations before the deadline. And since nothing happened with those, they were like, okay, well, we'll just table this until the end of the year. And so that to me is like, okay, second the season's over, second those allegations get cleared up, I think that they have a deal already in place, and I think Tua's a part of it. I think Tua in picks for Deshaun Watson coming back. Mm-hmm. So that's just my thought. And I would say, if there's a line on Tua playing in Houston in 2022, if it's a good line, I would put money down on that, because that I think it's almost a foregone conclusion at this point.
Okay. Who else you got?
New York Giants, Daniel Jones. It sounds like they're bringing him back, but that's just because they have no other options. Are they going to be looking for his replacement or in the draft? They've got 2 picks super high. Are they going after?
That was the thought that came to my mind. Like, why wouldn't the Giants be going after Deshaun Watson?
I think they're going to go after Russell Wilson.
Okay. Keep going.
Got Carolina, Sam Darnold. He's under contract next year, but are you looking for his heir apparent or what have you, or are you just going to lock in this year, just one more year of Sam Darnold and move on after the fact?
Man, you talk about from this first 3 weeks to this last 15, you couldn't be as far from one side of the planet to the other.
He was an MVP candidate in the first 3 weeks.
Go figure. September. Wow.
Yeah. I guess the question in Denver is going to be, are they going to be trying to get into these veteran QB sweepstakes? Because I don't think they're going to be going after a rookie quarterback.
We already know that they not bringing Teddy Bridgewater back. We knew that before the season was even grinding down.
If they're smart, they would, though. If you can't get a clear upgrade, like if you're not getting Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, I think like Teddy Bridgewater, that's bring him back.
Slam dunk.
Yeah.
And like,
he knows the system.
What the hell is this Drew Lock?
He knows
nonsense?
The players.
Because they saying the exact same. Everything you saying is how Drew Lock is still there. He knows the system. He knows the play. He can't play. What? Where's the why is there a disconnect here? The guy, you're throwing him out there. I don't even know how many. Okay. I'm gonna just say plus at this point. He has close to 30 starts, if not more. Drew Lock.
I have no idea.
But I'm sure his winning percentage is well below. It has to be at 20, 30% winning percentage at best. Yeah, okay.
First interviews are done. First day of interviews. Sorry, breaking news.
What's going on?
The first day of interviews are done in Chicago. They got two. They did an interview with Glenn Cook from Cleveland. He's a executive over there for the
Quickly,
GM.
not that segment. I'm just asking a really quick question.
Oh, sorry, and head coach Doug Peterson.
Get back to that later.
Yeah,
got it. But yeah, I'm baffled at how they have just shown no type of commitment to Teddy Bridgewater after just trading for him. They didn't pick him up in free agency.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. They did trade for him.
Which made me think, okay, they finally said, screw it. We're not going to go out there Aaron Rodgers, or he's not coming. We're moving on to plan B. We're moving forward. And
I guess if
that
they
did
can't
not happen. They just, we just want to get this guy in for now. We're trying to look for something
They
else.
didn't even commit to him being the starting quarterback until like week 3 of the preseason.
That's what I mean. And why would you trade for that to put him in this type?
There's a lot of questions there, but like I said,
don't want to stop you. But okay, Denver, you got Teddy Bridgewater. That's six teams now.
Yeah, Atlanta, Matt Ryan. Are they gonna? I know he's got a contract.
I really have to put this man out. Is this really in question?
It's Atlanta.
Is it? And Matt Ryan is in question.
I don't know if he's moving on or not. We don't know what's happening over there.
Why would he be staying? Atlanta. This is to Atlanta, to the city of Atlanta. Why in the world? Even if you're not Falcon fans, just to the city of Atlanta, why would the Falcons be keeping Matt Ryan? Anybody in the city can answer this question. Go.
Washington football team. Hey, Taylor Heineke looked damn good on this crap roster. We building around him, or what are we doing?
He did up until last few weeks.
Yes, okay, but they were already done, and they had no healthy players.
I don't know. It just don't bring me. It'll give me a lot of. It's just an OTA next year. I'm not super excited. Yeah. I'm just kind of like, dude. Well, go ahead.
There's been rumors also in Cleveland of Baker Mayfield possibly planning on requesting a trade out of Cleveland. But we also did get some news earlier this week. Cleveland execs are stating that they fully expect to have Baker back as a starter in 2022. So
wait till the draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions there. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins. I know it's hard. He's guaranteed $45 million goddamn dollars next year. But hey, what are we doing? Are we going to try to renegotiate and restructure that contract? Are we?
I say y'all need to call them people up in the Giants organization and make a deal and just get this dude off your books.
Jeez, I don't know how that's gonna happen. That's
the
Giants,
a tough one. And you know,
I think
they can make one more bad move.
I think there's only one team that has the capital to take on that contract would be Jacksonville, and they've already got Trevor Lawrence. Like they're not gonna do it. New Orleans, what's your next move at QB? Taysom Hill? You just gave him that contract, but hey, or are you going to bring back Jameis Winston? Or, hey, Trevor Siemian looked pretty good.
He did for what, a game and a half?
One half.
One half of one game? Okay.
Miami, are they sticking with Tua, or are they doing what I think is almost a shoo-in, taking him and sending him over to Houston? And then Indianapolis, are they going to try to continue to build around Carson Wentz, or are they going to move on to try to see if he's only guaranteed, I think, $15 million next year, so that's not too bad, and I think that there are going to be some teams that would take that on. But still, questions remain if they're going to try to get somebody in the draft, or they're going to go with Jacob Eason, or if they're going to stick with Carson. So. Right. Especially after that disappointing game. I think he's had a great season, in all honesty. I mean, he definitely limited the turnovers. It just did not translate to that Week 18 game. But neither here nor there. Carson Wentz is still on the chopping block. We'll see if he stays or if he goes. But let's talk about Black Monday.
Yes.
This was kind of the talk of the week. Let's start with the ones that we already know, and the one that definitely has not had any interviews so far or any speculation of candidates besides one guy, and that would be with the Raiders, who just made the playoffs. They did fire John Gruden in the middle. Sorry, they parted ways with John Gruden in the middle of the season. And interim head coach Rich Bisaccia is obviously, at this point, I think he's been in a 3-month interview so far, and so I think he's making a great bid after they just earned themselves a playoff bid, and they look damn good
You
right
earned
now.
yourself some spot somewhere in this organization.
Yeah.
If it's not a head coach.
Now Jacksonville, they fired Urban Meyer in the middle of the season. I think too late for my liking, but neither here nor there. There's quite a few guys that
just kept him. I mean, what they go? They was not gonna win the last game. I mean, maybe not. Who knows?
We never know. There's quite a few candidates that have been talked about with them. It starts with interim head coach Darrell Bevel, that's already there. I don't think with his tenure so far that is going to.
I think it would go a very long way for them to step outside of whoever's in the organization right now and bring somebody fresh and new.
Well, speaking of outside the organization, let's talk about outside of the entire NFL. They've got 3 former head coaches that they have requested interviews for, and probably already had some interviews with some of these guys. Head coach Jim Caldwell is back on the table. Former Detroit head coach. Head coach Doug Peterson has been talked about in Jacksonville.
Former Indianapolis coach too, by the way.
True.
Came right behind Junji.
That's true. And then also head coach Bill O'Brien, former head coach, has been talked about from being pulled out of the college ranks back into.
This the same Bill O'Brien that was in Houston?
That would be the one, sir. That would be a very Jacksonville thing to do.
Yeah. Oh man, that's probably the number one candidate.
And then some coordinators that are being talked about. Dallas offensive and defensive coordinator is going to be Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn. Have been linked to the job. Tampa Bay OC and DC Brian Leftwich and Todd Bowles. Indy defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus and Green Bay offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett have all been considered over in Jacksonville so far. Denver also fired head coach Vic Fangio the day after, right on that Sunday. That was a breaking news Sunday morning.
That is the most shocking thing they have done all season to me.
Denver?
For me, I didn't. That's the second most baffling fire in this off season for me.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you this when it happened, and we talked about it that morning. I wasn't shocked based off of the statements that Vic Fangio was making over the last couple of weeks before this happened, where he was trying to make a bid with the media and try to gain some rapport with him, I guess. So I wasn't really shocked when it happened, just based off of the way that he was talking for the last couple of weeks. But they have actually considered and requested for a couple of head coaches already and some coordinators. So it starts with Kansas City offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. I think he's the front runner for the Denver job as it stands right now. Just kind of early discussions. Philadelphia defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon is going to be considered for the Denver job. They also took in Green Bay QB coach Luke Getsy. Not sure if that name is going to be connected to any other jobs moving forward. They also did request offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett from Green Bay as well. Shockingly, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn has been considered for this job, apparently. They also are looking at New England linebacker coach Gerard Mayo, Dallas offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, and also the Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell are being linked to interview for these jobs. Chicago, they did the right thing. They fired Ryan Pace. They fired head coach Matt Nagy. Quite a few names linked to these jobs here. So starts with Buffalo over in Chicago. Defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier is the early kind of favorite that's been talked about with Chicago so far. They also are interested in offensive coordinator from Buffalo, Brian Daboll. Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles, both out of Tampa Bay, also connected to this job. Green Bay offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett and Indy defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus also being considered. Like I said just a few minutes ago, they have actually conducted the interview already with Doug Peterson for head coach, and then also with Cleveland exec Glenn Cook as well for the GM position. Some other names that are being thrown around for the GM position. a guy I've never heard of, Cleveland VP of football operations, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, is being considered for the GM job. Indy director of college scouting, Morocco Brown. New Orleans assistant GM, Jeff Ireland. And Indy assistant GM, Ed Dodds. That is the one that interests me the most, Indy GM, Ed Dodds, because he is right under... who is the GM over there right now in Indianapolis? Can't remember his name. But he's been well renowned. I mean, he's built that Indy entire roster after losing Andrew Luck. So Chris Ballard is his name.
Okay.
So he's been sitting under him, and if that's the guy that they're going to bring in, the guy who's kind of been groomed by Chris Ballard, I'm not. I'm totally in for that if he has the chops for it. So we'll see. But they have already interviewed Glenn Cook for the job, and they're going to continue conducting interviews. It is stated that they are going to try to get the GM before they go with the head coach. So we'll see if they stick to that. But they did say if they find the right head coach while they're conducting interviews, they will hire him on the spot, regardless of what is happening with the GM side of things. Minnesota has fired GM Rick Spielman, which I think is one of the biggest shocks. And Mike Zimmer, that's not a shock. That was a given. But I think another huge shock out of Minnesota is that they basically have requested nobody for interviews so far. I think they have one GM that they've requested interview for and one head coach so far.
Going with the player-coach model.
Yeah, and I just am baffled by that. I was just like, what are you guys just sitting on your hands for? Like, everybody is interviewing right now. Go out there and do something. And this is the shock of all shocks. Miami fired Brian Flores. What are we doing?
You're just talking to the wall at this point. That just like what?
There was some explanation. So
no. There's no logical one, but go ahead. You try.
I'm not saying it was logical, but there is a
explanation nevertheless.
Yeah, there is a discussion that has happened. It basically, there's been some internal power struggle between Brian Flores and Chris Grier, and we all know Miami's owner. Miami's owner basically lives in California, so this dude is so hands off. He has like no pulse of the team whatsoever. Now, there are some players that have come out recently after his firing that have stated that they've had some issues with him, but there are also players, overwhelmingly more players that are like, this is the dude, like, he is the, like, this guy is going to ride or die for you. Mm-hmm. And apparently it was Brian Flores who kind of inside the building had told people to hold off on Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. And with that and him being such a big supporter of Tua, it seems like that struggle had kind of come to a head. And when the owner came back to try to have the discussion on who is going to be kind of the leader moving forward, they landed on Chris Grier, who hasn't been able to draft or attract free agents. He's actually sent away more free agents than he's brought in. So, what has Chris Grier done that makes you think that you're going to this is like the definition of a dysfunctional franchise? This is why they're never going to catch up to Buffalo and New England. Never.
I don't know. I don't have any answer for that. I'm sorry. It's freaking mine. I don't know what to.
Well, they have been they have requested one head coach to come in so far, and that is Buffalo offensive coordinator Brian Daboll to take over. And then New York is the last team to do anything. Gettleman actually straight up was just like, I'm done. I'm retiring. So GM since he's been hired, basically everybody's been like, this dude is trash. What are you doing? You're taking this team quickly the opposite direction of where they're trying to go. Mm-hmm. He retires and gets to walk away scot-free. And then right after that, Tuesday, well, what it sounded like is that they were going to stick with Joe Judge. Like the owner came out and was like, yep, Joe Judge is our guy. We're planning to go back into 2022 with this dude leading the team. And then less than 12 hours later, I wake up to head coach Joe Judge fired on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
How quickly what happened?
I think somebody might have slipped the standings over to this guy and was like, look, outside of this one tie, you're in last place. Just throwing it out there. I told you this team was bad. I'm not gonna give you any kind of revelation here, but seriously, look, I said it, I told you so line, whatever it is, getting on my soapbox. I told you, whoever's listening, I told you this team was notoriously, this franchise is just notoriously just in this era right now. They're in one of these down eras. They are horribly bad, just horrible. From top to bottom.
You are 100% right. And you know what drives that point home even more? The Jets look better than you right now.
You know, and that yes. You said everything without saying much. So yes. And these are the New York Giants that I've heard about in the 70s. You know, which I didn't watch football in the 70s. Hell, I wasn't barely born in the 70s, yet alone. But the point being is, they have slipped back into an era of just oblivion that it predates my NFL knowledge. So it's when and why I'm going in so hard is because I've never seen this franchise this bad. I mean, they've had bad seasons, but to see them just in a stretch of time. They got poorly
rid of Tom
ran.
Coughlin and the GM over there before.
I know you. I can't
remember his name, but I mean, he won 2 goddamn championships with it and beat Tom freaking Brady twice. Like, they built teams that were actually scary, and like, you got rid of them, and you have never looked anywhere near that good. Even the year that they made the playoffs and got beat by Green Bay on a last-second heave by Aaron Rodgers, when Aaron Rodgers was Hail Mary king for 3 years.
Right.
Even that year, that team it was still dysfunctional. It was still just like, I mean, like, you got some talent, but man, it's just not, I don't see it coming together. And it didn't. And it's just like, wow. And it's devolved to a point where the fact that the Jets kept their head coach, and you're now in this perpetual cycle of firing and rehiring and firing and rehiring head coaches, and you stuck with Dave Gettleman way longer than you should have never hired this guy. And it's just at a point where I'm just like, I don't see where up is for this team. I don't. I don't see how this team is going to climb out of this hole.
Okay. Couple things. It took them a few days and reservations that you were sharing to.
What were you considering?
Why is he still here? Why are we going this direction? Okay, Joe Judge is out. It's pretty obvious. Daniel Jones needs to be out. I'm sorry, you got to scrap this. Saquon Barkley. I mean, look, I can go down the whole list of the offense. You can get rid of all of them guys.
You can get rid of the whole defense too, but you can't because you gave these guys contracts that aren't good.
Over to the defense because I think they have a few redeeming players over there. Hear what I said? I said a few in quotations.
Give me a name because I don't got one.
Let me throw up their roster because I can't even recall one of them. I just remember they had a couple people over there.
Nobody.
And you know what? It's not even worth my time to research it. I'm not even going to argue the case that hard. It doesn't matter. They're a notoriously bad franchise. But I do know for a fact, starting with the offense, scrap the whole damn thing. Offensive line, scrap the whole. Y'all have nothing. So, yes, to your point, I have no idea where up is going to look like, where you start, where you begin. I don't know what to say. It's going to be one of those situations where I felt that about teams, and then within the next season or so, they just start bringing in these people, and it never moves the needle for me. But then all of a sudden, they just get better, and then all of a sudden, like, okay. But I'm glad that's not a process, and I'm not a part of a fan base where I have to watch this train wreck try to fix itself and repair itself. So
You're lucky over here.
I don't care.
Chiefs fan with this dynasty roster.
Hey.
How about to sit here and
Before all of
suffer
that,
with
hey, whoa. I had to wait longer than you've been alive, okay, to see this happen.
not my fault.
No. My point being is,
It's all I've known since I've been alive. You got to watch a championship.
I've long suffered.
You got to watch a
I
championship.
long suffered way before you started breathing air, okay? So don't.
You got Jim McMahon. At least all I've had is Jay goddamn Cutler.
That happened when I was 8 years old.
You got
barely
to
was
see
paying
it.
attention. Yeah, sort of.
You remember it.
I do remember it.
Exactly.
But
I don't. All I remember is Jay Cutler with
Sunday,
his freaking. I'm riding on the electric bike on the side of the sideline in the freaking NFC Championship game against Green Bay.
I wasn't 7 years old sitting up there like, oh, it's football Sunday. It's time to watch the Bears. I didn't do that. You want to know the two games I've seen the year the Bears won the Super Bowl? You want to know the two games I watched?
The Super Bowl.
That's one.
And the game before.
There
Championship
game. I told you the story already. The NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. The two that mattered the most. I missed all the other wins and the one loss.
To see, I have not seen. The closest I got was 2006, and I was so happy when I got to see. The year was actually 2007. But
the Rex Grossman Championship.
Oh God, the Rex Grossman squander.
Sexy Rexy.
Oh my God! But I just I remember the opening kickoff. Me and Razan sitting in the living room watching this man, just Devin Hester, insane return, and then all of a sudden there was no up from there. It was Rex Grossman turnover after Rex Grossman turnover, as he does.
No, and then we had Cedric Benson who what did he do in these two plays? I'm trying to remember because it was the most two dysfunctional plays ever. Oh, what does he do? I think he ran and correct me if I'm gonna have to go back. I think he ran and got stuffed in this one play, and then so they decided to run the ball again on the second one. I think he fumbles the ball, loses the ball, and then he gets injured all in the same play and was out of the game. It was
the most dramatic two plays I have ever seen.
So you do remember what I'm talking about?
You're right about the first one. He just got absolutely stuffed at the line on the first one. Not even at the line. I don't think he made it back to the line. The offensive line just completely devolved on the play.
It was the two worst plays I've seen in history of just in anybody's.
There was one more from Rex Grossman that was way more egregious in this game.
But go ahead.
But regardless, then the next play, I don't know how it just looked stupid. It was just the epitome of just this is what it was. Literally a play that just looked like the Jacksonville Jaguars season. He gets stuffed again, basically fumbles. And injured. Was it his leg? I can't even remember what he got injured. What the injury was, but
something to his leg, ankle, knee. There's something down there. And whatever the case, it was just such a momentum shift on top of what Rex Grossman.
But do you remember when Greg Olsen is just like screaming down, like he is just wide. He is butt naked, wide open in the back of the end zone, and Rex Grossman throws the ball into the stands and throws it away.
You know what I'm telling you? Because up until that moment, and I'm just this is Chicago fun fact history. Into that moment, Chicago had only one registered championship loss on their books. And that was the 92 Stanley Cup finals between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks. The only time, if you was a Chicago fan, that you have witnessed them lose a championship. And then came 2007, January 2007, and we got to see the Bears losing the Super Bowl.
Tragic.
So in Chicago sports, I don't think Chicagoans know how to articulate losing in a championship game because it's either we don't ever go, or if we get there, we take and run the show. And that's just been the MO in Chicago until that. I'm saying about the Bears because that was a little bit more of a wider fan base as opposed to Blackhawk fans back then was a very select group of people who walked through the city or not walked through the city. It just wasn't that many. It was not as it was not as popular as it has been in this dynasty field era that we got to see 20 years after the fact. But
Yeah, once we got Taves and Kane, it was just like I couldn't stop watching hockey.
no, I mean between them and the Lynx, oh my god,
Dan
like
Quinn?
every other year we
Not
was
Dan
watching.
Quinn, sorry. Joe Quenneville.
Yes,
Coach Q.
but
I
moving
miss
on.
him so
We're
much.
not talking about Chicago. It was a segue.
We were
back.
talking about dysfunctional franchises.
Dysfunctional franchise, right?
But
So-
let's get off depressing stuff and let's talk about some season awards. I think it's time to talk about
All
it.
right, let's do
As
this.
the regular season has ended, I don't know why we don't hand out awards during this time period, the week before the playoffs, because that's what it should be accounted for. But neither here nor there. There are 7 major awards to talk about, and we'll go from the least celebrated to the most. And I just want to look at the odds and see how we're feeling about these ones. So let's start with Comeback Player of the Year. Start at the top 4 is basically where it lies in this one. There's a couple of more that are on the list, but they're not winning it. It starts with a heavy favorite, Dak Prescott at -140.
Okay.
Joe Burrow at +110. Nick Bosa at +6,500. And Carson Wentz at +10,000 to win the award. I think it's got to go to Dak Prescott just from the season that he's had. But if there was ever a person to really contend against this, I think the number 2 and 3 are actually really good to talk about in the conversation. Nick Bosa at 3 +6,500, I think is insane. He's a game wrecker regardless of his injuries. And then Joe Burrow, my God, the season he's had has been insane. So without question, he should be in the conversation.
I would arguably say that he should be over Dak Prescott personally, but hey,
yeah,
considering how we was projecting Cincinnati, how they structured their team, the nature of his injury, the nature of what their issues were supposed to be in light of that injury, and what he went out there and did, and just made us look really damn plumb foolish. And which only left me at the end of the year because I thought this was complete. I ain't gonna say it was a fluke, but it was definitely an outlier. You're gonna have to show me that again because I don't believe y'all can reduplicate that type of success with such a suspect offensive line coming off an injury like that. With all that being said, I thought that was a little bit more impactful, not necessarily more impressive, but more impactful than what was going on in Dallas, and taking nothing away from Dak Prescott. The bottom line is y'all already had a dynamic offense. That didn't change. What changed is it has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. Where the hell did that defense come from?
Yeah.
So
I
that's all
agree
to
to a
that.
point. I think Dak has still been insane this season for sure. I mean, I've had him on my fantasy team, and God, he was great. I mean, there's 1 or 2 games where he just didn't show up, but that was like, all right, we're just gonna hand the ball off to Zeke and Tony Pollard today.
Hey.
Hey.
I had Kyler Murray in place of that guy. So yeah, what that means.
That was your mistake, not mine.
I don't think I would have made any much difference if you having either player.
True.
To be honest with you.
No, but I do agree with you. I would say Joe Burrow should be the favorite, but if I was a voter, I would. If I was a voter, I would vote for Joe Burrow. But me as a bettor, I'm betting Dak Prescott to win this award for sure. But I do think for the next one, I would definitely say Zach Taylor, head coach of the year, because I think the thing that is more impressive to me about Cincinnati, more than what their offense is doing, is the defense over there showing up in big spots, making massive stops against multiple teams that we thought they never would have a chance to play even half decent against.
That is true.
So let's talk about that award. Head coaches, Mike Vrabel is definitely the favorite right now out of Tennessee, -185. Zach Taylor is number 2 at +250. Matt LaFleur is 3rd at +350, and Bill Belichick rounds out the list at +4,000. Like I said, that I see why Mike Vrabel is definitely in consideration for it, but man,
So let me ask you this.
Zach Taylor, I feel like, should be the coach of the year based off of our expectations of their teams going into the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like he should get it the way that Matt Nagy got head coach of the year in 2018. Like, nobody ever thought Chicago was going to be a playoff team. Nobody ever thought Cincinnati was going to be a playoff team, regardless of them only getting 10 wins or not. Man, they played out of their mind, and they took over the AFC North, a historic historic division that just does not allow Cincinnati to ever win anything.
Right.
What is it? The second time in the last 20 years Cincinnati has won this division?
Yeah. If I can't even remember the first time, but yeah,
2015,
sure.
Carson Palmer.
Yeah. Moving on.
So I would say Zach Taylor is. I think Mike Vrabel is going to win it, but because what Mike Vrabel did is definitely, without question, very, very fascinating.
Let me tell you what's fascinating.
It's impressive.
Let me tell you what's fascinating. Mike Tomlin and what he did in Pittsburgh. Talk about doing something, a little bit with nothing. That's I'm just trying to spin a horrible situation, and this dude finds himself in the playoffs. That's impressive.
You know where he lost?
It's impressive in a very negative way.
Yes,
but
you're totally correct. And I would say, if this one thing hadn't happened this year, he would definitely be in consideration for me. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I hope it ain't, but go ahead.
That damn tie to the Detroit Lions.
I knew you would.
But that's you tied to the damn line.
That's what got them in, though. It's true. Long as they didn't lose, they couldn't lose the game.
No, if they were 10-7 with a win over Detroit, yeah.
But the very thing as to why I'm saying that he should be on the list and maybe consider is the very reason why he should. All at the same time. It was a back-ended joke, but it is impressive in a very weird way. But
so who would you pick out of this list?
If it had to be that
not as
list,
a betting man, just like who do you think is going to win? And if you are going to bet, I guess you can give that one too.
It should be the Bengals coach. I'm
Zach Taylor.
It really should. I'm not saying that to, just to be throwing a name out there. You got to take this 10-7. Take it for whatever it is. It don't have to be. I know there's teams out here with 13 and 12 wins and all this and that, but if you look at just
we were predicting this team at like 4 wins,
right? Straight the strength of schedule and so on. Exactly. 10-7 and could have been a few more technically.
Swept both Baltimore and Pittsburgh this year, and the only reason why they didn't sweep Cleveland is because they didn't play Joe Burrow last week.
Right.
Like they went 5-1 in this. I gotta give it to him. Zach Taylor is.
It was a very impressive run.
I also think halfway through the season we were talking about Zach Taylor getting fired.
Right.
So it's insane to think that he's not the one who's gonna win it. And again, not a slight at Mike Vrabel in the slightest. Like it's just like what Zach Taylor did is just by far more impressive than what happened over in Tennessee. Tennessee, we expected you to win the division. Mm-hmm. We expected you to go out there and dominate a crap division. This team fought through a very tough division against precedents and against actually talented teams and continued to fight week in and week out and ended up getting themselves into the playoffs and winning one of the toughest divisions of the season. I think Defensive Rookie of the Year has been a race that has kind of been locked up for quite some time. They do have 2 people in the race though, and it comes down to, I just wanted to see if you can take a shot at who's in these in this race.
What race is this?
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Defensive Rookie. Oh God. Okay. Please tell me I didn't change my page here, and I think I did not. Okay, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. One's a given.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Trayvon Diggs.
Wrong. Trayvon Diggs is he's a Defensive Player of the Year.
What year is he in? Is he in the second year?
3, I think.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm
Well,
drawing a
one
blank.
is on the same team, Micah Parsons.
How did I not? Okay.
The other one, I don't think anybody. I mean, he's been great, but I don't think anybody's had him anywhere near close Micah Parsons, and it's reflecting in the odds. Patrick Surtain is in the running out of Denver, but Micah Parsons is at minus 10,000 to win the award, and Patrick Surtain is at plus 900. The odds are just this is Micah Parsons' award. Like, it is a given. Micah Parsons is the defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year rather. And I think he should be in consideration for defensive player of the year, but there is a guy in that category that has been even more insane than Micah Parsons.
Wow.
Offensive rookie of the year, that's a 2-horse race. Starts with Jamar Chase at minus 250. That's my award winner for this one. Mac Jones was in the race for quite some time. He's at plus 200. I would have had him back probably week 15, weeks. Yeah, I think it was week 15 when they went on their bye week, or week 14.
So we said offensive rookie of the year?
Yeah.
So you telling me Nigel Harris is not even considered
Nope.
on this? Man rushed for 1,200 yards this year.
Good for him. He didn't do anything better than Jamar Chase.
Yeah, but I'm looking at a whole bunch of stud veterans that's all around him, and he's the only rookie sitting there, and he's not at the bottom of that list. So I'm like, I don't think you should get penalized for being on a bad team if you actually excelled beyond that. And I would say that because a person like a Saquon Barkley could take a page out of a Najee Harris book. But
Yeah.
just throwing that out there. Same position, by the way. But that's all I'm getting at. I thought that was impressive considering he played on a horrible offense.
I totally agree. But what Jamar Chase did this year is...
No. I just saying it's interesting that he's not even on the list. That's what I'm saying. Not that he needs to be number one. I'm just like, wow, he didn't even get an honorable mention.
Nope. But I think it was very close between Jamar Chase and Mac Jones in
Mac Jones
back
the
in
last
week 14.
month was
It's been
completely
dreadful.
out the
He's
race.
had one good game against Jacksonville, and then just 2-3 terrible games.
And it was Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So.
On top of that, but I mean, Jamar Chase, I think that Kansas City game won it for him.
I think he was even before that, but yeah.
Well, he didn't have such a good week the week before, and then that I think there was still a slight question after Mac Jones had a pretty bad one. It was just like, okay, well, it's one of these two, just who's going to finish out better. And Jamar Chase had that game against Kansas City, and I was like, yep, it's done. It's over. Just like there was no question about it at that point, to me anyway.
Okay.
Minus 250, he's going to win that award. Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how this man is not a negative favorite on the odds here, but I'm going to start from the bottom, go up. It starts with Myles Garrett.
Okay.
He is on the list at plus 1,200. Aaron Donald is at plus 800.
Could we take Garrett off right now?
No, Donald needs to come off. I'm sorry.
If you take the Bears game out of the equation, Myles Garrett is not even in this list. He's not even in the conversation. This was a one game. Had nothing to really. It was more so what Chicago did and was doing, and not so much.
He had a couple of good games after
I'm
that.
Not saying
it wasn't
he
up
didn't,
to. It wasn't up to that Bears game.
The only thing that got him that they continue to keep him in this conversation, really, if you just go back, it pinpoints to this one game, and that's it.
Well, it started there, but he had a couple. He had multiple games where he had like 2-3 sacks, and it was like, Jesus, man, this dude he's a game wrecker. But the one that I'm like baffled is on the list is Aaron Donald, because it's just like, yes, it's name recognition at this point, because it's just like, dude, like, yeah, he had a good season, but it's not anywhere near comparable to the other pass rushers on this list. I feel like Myles Garrett has a better year than Aaron Donald did as a pass rusher. And it's not to say that Aaron Donald didn't create pressure. It's just it wasn't as impactful as when Myles Garrett was on the field. It wasn't as impactful as when the dude that I think should be a minus favorite on this list, TJ Watt, was this year.
Right.
It's like I don't understand.
Okay, but go Aaron Donald. I got you.
So Aaron Donald plus 800. Trayvon Diggs in the running for Defensive Player of the Year at plus 750. before I get to TJ Watt, who's at plus 185, I think there should be another guy on this list. And I think this is who I would replace. Micah Parsons should be on this list in replace of Aaron Donald to me.
Yeah, I mean, 84, hang on. Aaron Donald, 84. Wow. Okay, so Parsons almost has 26 more solo tackles than this guy. One less game.
Mm-hmm.
Same amount of total tackles, and Donald has a half a sack less. That is whoa, 3 and that's very interesting.
I just really believe Micah Parsons he should be in consideration for both Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Yeah, some of these I've seen it even in crossing sports in the NBA where they try to avoid giving rookies both. Even if they deserve it. I mean, I get it.
Well,
it's almost
because I will say he's not the Defensive Player of the Year to me. It's TJ Watt. But the fact that Micah Parsons isn't on the list and Aaron Donald is, I'm like, come on. This is literally just name recognition.
Yeah. Thank your writers, beat writers, for this nonsense.
And then, let me get on my soapbox for TJ Watt here. Plus 185 on this odds makers Vegas. What are we doing here? What is going on? This man has 22 and a half sacks. He just tied Michael Strahan's record. By the way, there should be a stat correction. That fumble that happened, that should be a sack for TJ Watt. His just mere presence around the ball made Huntley fumble that ball. Like that. Yes, he did not come into contact and the ball had already touched the ground. I don't care. It was because of TJ Watt that happened. That is his sack. Like he should have 23 and a half sacks on the season. If they don't do a stat correction and give him the record, that's egregious. So that's that for me. The fact that he is a plus favorite on the list and not a minus favorite, I think is so disrespectful. Just the fact that TJ Watt just can't get just because his name is so synonymous with his brother and JJ Watt, they won't give him the respect. Like he's gonna win the award, I think, but there's been multiple times. What is JJ Watt? I think has 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and every single time he was like minus 1,000 to win it. It's like TJ Watt he broke the like impossible record. He was right there. He tied the record that nobody could get to.
Right.
And the only reason why Michael Strahan even has that record is because Brett Favre gave him a sack to give him the record in the last game.
Way to go.
If we remember that.
I don't really.
But regardless, TJ Watt should be the favorite. He is. Offensive Player of the Year is only a 2-horse race, apparently.
Offensive player? Okay. Yeah. I'm listening.
Comes down to the 2 guys we've been talking about. Cooper Kupp, start with him, minus 110 to win the award. And Jonathan Taylor, what do you think his odds are to win the award? Cooper Kupp's minus 110.
Minus 300 or something?
Minus 110. They have the exact same dead even odds to win this award.
So are we looking at a Offensive Player of the Year?
I would not be mad at it because both these guys deserve
conference.
It. Yeah,
I think they do. But as you were saying before, it's like one should win the MVP and the other one should be Offensive Player of the Year. They need to just figure out which one. I think we know which one it should be. Then again, the other one makes even a strong. It's like a potato.
I would say I would flip what I've been saying only because of this last week. But regardless, let's talk MVP.
That kind of does tip it over at the end. I'm like, it's kind of hard to deny him at that point. But
let's talk MVP. Unfortunately, I just don't agree with this list. This list is horrible.
Give me this crap list. Go ahead.
Let's start at the bottom and work our way up.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor is at plus 3,000.
Oh, he's
number
the bottom.
4. Yeah,
See,
plus 3,000 to win.
The fact that he's at the bottom.
Yes.
3,000.
Why is this man on the list? Joe Burrow plus 2,500.
Really? Keep going. Wow.
Tom Brady is at plus 375.
can't have a list without Tom Brady. But go ahead.
And Aaron Rodgers is at minus 500. What are we watching this season that Aaron Rodgers is the runaway favorite to win the MVP award?
I'm gonna give you 2 stat numbers. First place in the NFC.
Don't care.
And 13-4.
Don't care.
That's all they're going off of. It don't even matter. It can be, he's led the league over the Arizonas and the San Franciscos and the LA Rams. Dude.
You easily could have lost to Cincinnati. You easily could have lost to Arizona. An Arizona team that was injured at the end of that game. A Cincinnati team that hadn't even found themselves at that point.
I hear you. It sounds good.
You lost to freaking New Orleans.
Stop. Listen to what I'm saying, but not so much what as to when I'm saying it. Right now, and right after week 18, say it now. Changes the whole context, and now it's just like, oh my God, that's what legitimizes this 13-4 record, or this
almost lost to Baltimore without.
Look, notice there
without Lamar Jackson.
Hold on, no murderer's row schedule, by the way. Like half the damn league, everyone else that's been knocking each other off the pedestal, and why you got all these 9-5 and 10-6, 10-6, 10-7, and 9-8 teams, and 11-5s and stuff like, all 11-6s, whatever. This 17 games really throwing me off. But the number doesn't roll off my tongue.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's just, all these teams keep giving a game away. Win a game, give a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. Go ahead with the Green Bay.
So I gave my 4 to start.
Yep.
Cincinnati, Arizona. Oh, whoops, wrong computer. Cincinnati, Arizona, New Orleans, and Baltimore. You lost a game to the Minnesota Vikings. I don't give a damn that you were on the road. You gave 34 points. I mean, this is Green Bay, but you weren't able to overcome this Minnesota defense who's been trash all year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've got good guys, but they've been injured all year long. You had to get into a shootout with Chicago at the end of the year. 45-30. You had to get in a shootout with Chicago to. I mean, it's not really against you. Fine. And I don't see that. That's 6 games this season where, yes, your team success does include into the MVP award, but that's 6 games that your team success was predicated not on your team being good. It was predicated on your team getting lucky because the other team fell apart at the end, offensively or defensively. Like, if we're going to say because they have the 13-4 record, that record could easily be 10-7. That record could easily be 7-10.
That's true. We get that, but at this stage, it's all the water under the bridge, and it's just make it sound like we're whining and we got some big vendetta against them. And it's no, y'all.
I like Aaron Rodgers. He did not have an MVP
pass,
season,
and they didn't pass the eye test either. So, and that's the point.
To me, Tom Brady, because it's a QB's award, if there's a QB that's going to win it, it should be Tom Brady. Offensive efficiency with the amount of injuries that they've had on the offensive side of the football, and the fact that they're 12-5.
No, 13-4.
Oh, I can't even get that right. 13-4. They're same damn record.
Make sure I got that right. Yeah, same record.
What did Aaron Rodgers do to get minus 500? Why is everybody in love with Aaron Rodgers this year? It wasn't that impressive.
Look, I'm going to take, as much as the Rams struggled, they're only 1 game behind them.
Mm-hmm.
1 game. So, and Dallas as well. It's nothing justifies those numbers. I'm sorry, that's factored in based on some people whoever put those numbers out there would have to explain that, because then I'm sure it's going to be some wonky ass.
Well, it's because that's what they're getting. The news that they're getting is that Aaron Rodgers is basically a shoo-in for the MVP. That is what these numbers tell me. That Vegas has gotten information, inside sources that are saying this is Aaron Rodgers' award. And I'm looking at that like, who the hell is voting on this? And this is exactly why I've stated multiple times.
So award's supposed to be given to Cooper Taylor or
It should be Jonathan Taylor number 1 at
Jonathan
minus
Kupp.
500. It should be Cooper Kupp at plus 375 and Tom Brady at plus 2,500.
Mm.
There have been so much more impressive football played elsewhere outside of the QB position that
I'm gonna say I have to. I'm gonna sell a petition again. You saying Tom Brady, but I would still argue Joe Burrow should be, if a quarterback. I'm like, he should be considered as an MVP as opposed to Tom Brady. I'm like, dude, you're on a stacked ass team. I'm like, hell, we can get them damn stats on that damn team. I mean, it doesn't.
there
take
is
much.
that, but they did lose so many guys on the offensive side of the football and defensive side of the football. When it comes down to it, they have had a very effective offense, and yes, it is because they have a stacked team, but you've got an ancient quarterback back there who can't run, who can't move. He's completely immobile, that is still putting up numbers that are super effective, super efficient in dominating teams.
I guess.
So I would not have.
It doesn't impress me.
I would like to say yes, there's a new changing in the guard, and Joe Burrow should be the guy to win it. But I do have to give credit where it is due, and Tom Brady I think was impressive enough to get it.
No, I can hear that, but
But it's definitely not.
That's
Aaron
not
Rodgers.
taking nothing away from what Joe Burrow did in a single season.
Absolutely, yes.
With absolutely
No
no
offensive
one
line.
giving this dude any kind of chance of winning, and absolutely no offensive line, and made it look like they actually have one. So I don't know. I'm just I don't like the MVP award because, like I told you already, it's just nothing. It's just a popularity vote. And it's just people in their feelings and how they feel about something. And I got warm tinglies about this guy, and he won my fantasy team for this over here, and it's all this other BS that comes into it. And the stats are a factor, but they're never necessarily primarily based on what's been done on the field. It's all a whole bunch of other stuff, and and grit, and look at Aaron Rodgers on that one toe, and who effing cares, man? And you know what I'm saying? This is where the sentiment comes in, and that's an MVP. That's what's valuable. And okay, we couldn't get a more subjective damn reward ever to talk about, and then we debate about it for hours.
Yeah.
So I hear you. And as we said before, and I'm saying this now again today, it shouldn't even be a damn quarterback this year. It has been clear that there's two other candidates.
Based off of week 18 and the rest of the season beforehand, I would say Cooper Kupp should be the MVP and Jonathan Taylor, offensive player of the year.
Hell, he can even be the comeback player of the year. After what he did from his rookie year to his second year. I'm just making a point. We can spin it. I can do this all night with y'all people. We can spin this.
But I would like to see if they're not going to give Jonathan Taylor the MVP, which I do think going into this the last game, I think he lost the MVP.
He's going to get
race.
a Zeke snub.
Yeah.
Because I still didn't.
They're going to use week 18 against Jonathan Taylor. That I can already see coming. So if you're a bettor out there, do not put any money down on Jonathan Taylor winning it, because they will not give him the respect that he deserves based off of week 18.
Go with Kupp.
I wouldn't do that because they haven't been giving him his respect all
never
season long.
Never gonna give a receiver.
A white receiver, an MVP?
That's something.
Not when there's a white QB to give it to.